Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. I pulled into our driveway that evening, the Lexus keys feeling heavier in my pocket than they should have. Months of working double shifts on the compliance division team at the IRS, extra projects, and skipping lunches had finally paid off. The promotion came through and Avery wanted to surprise him with something special, something that showed him I was thinking about our future together. The house felt different when I walked in. Too quiet. Usually he'd be streaming a show or scrolling through his phone, but the living room was empty. I found him in the kitchen, standing with his back to me, staring out the window at nothing in particular. "Hey, how was your day?" I asked, setting my work bag down. He turned around slowly. His face was pale and he had that look. You know, the one that says, whatever's coming next is going to change everything. "We need to talk." I felt my stomach drop, but I kept my voice steady. "Okay, Grant, what's going on?" He took a deep breath and crossed his arms. "Avery, I think we should separate." The words hit me like a punch to the gut, but I didn't let it show. Separate? Where is this coming from? It's not working between us anymore. I've been thinking about this for weeks. Weeks. He'd been planning this while I was working extra hours to buy him a surprise. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Is there someone else?" I asked directly. He hesitated for just a moment too long. "It's not like that. It's just Ella Laner lost everything in her business. Her divorce cleaned her out completely, and she really needs support right now. She needs me more than you do." Ella Laner, his ex-wife from college, the same woman he told me was ancient history when we started dating years ago. "So let me get this straight," I said, leaning against the counter. "You want to leave me to go help your ex-wife who's broke? You're making it sound worse than it is. You're successful. You have your career at the IRS. You don't need me. Eleanor is struggling, and I can't just abandon her when she's at her lowest point." The audacity was breathtaking. I reached into my pocket and felt the Lexus keys, the same keys I'd been planning to surprise him with tomorrow morning. The car that was sitting in the dealership lot with his name on the registration. "You've got it all figured out then," I said calmly. "I know this is hard to understand, but I have to do what's right. Eleanor and I have history. We understand each other in ways that—" "Stop." I held up my hand. "Just stop talking." He looked surprised by my tone. Maybe he expected me to beg to fight for him, to make some dramatic speech about our marriage. Instead, I walked to the kitchen drawer and pulled out a notepad. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, scribbling down a name and number. "You can contact my attorney, Veronica Hayes, if you want to make this official. I'm not going to stand in your way." Oh, and his mouth fell open. "That's it. You're not even going to try to work this out." I looked at him for a long moment. The man I'd been married to for 3 years. The man I'd been planning to surprise with a luxury car. The man who was telling me his ex-wife's needs were more important than our marriage. "You just told me another woman needs you more than I do. What exactly am I supposed to work out? I thought you'd understand. I thought you'd be supportive of me helping someone who's going through a tough time." Supportive? I almost laughed. "You want me to be supportive of you leaving me for your ex? It's not like that." "Then what is it like? Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you're choosing her over me, and you want my blessing to do it." He started to say something, but I was done with the conversation. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" he called after me. "Out. When I get back, I expect you to be packed. If you're serious about this separation, you're being dramatic." I turned around at the front door. "No, I'm being practical. You've made your choice. I'm just accepting it faster than you expected." I drove around town for a couple of hours trying to process what had just happened. The Lexus keys were still in my pocket, a constant reminder of how completely I'd misread my own marriage. When I got back home, half his clothes were gone, and there was a note on the kitchen counter saying he'd be staying with Eleanor temporarily. I crumpled up the note and threw it in the trash. Then I called the dealership and told them I wouldn't be picking up the car after all. Some surprises just aren't meant to be. The next morning, I woke up in an empty house for the first time in years. No coffee brewing, no shower running, no sounds of him getting ready for work, just silence. And honestly, it wasn't as devastating as I thought it would be. I made my own coffee and sat at the kitchen table looking at the attorney's business card I'd written down the night before. Veronica Hayes, divorce attorney. A friend from work had recommended her after their own messy divorce. My phone buzzed. A text from him. I hope you can understand why I had to do this. Eleanor is in a genuinely tough spot. I deleted it without responding. Around noon, my neighbor Robert Bobchin knocked on the door. I saw him leaving with suitcases yesterday, he said, not bothering with small talk. Everything okay? We're separating, I said simply. Bob's eyebrows shot up. Well, that's sudden, though I have to say I'm not entirely surprised. What do you mean? He glanced around as if checking for eavesdroppers. I didn't want to say anything before, but I've seen a woman picking him up a few times when you were at work. Different car each time, always during lunch hours. My jaw tightened. How long has this been going on? Maybe a couple of months. I minded my own business because, well, it wasn't my place. But if you're separating anyway, 2 months. While I was working overtime in the compliance division to afford his surprise, he was sneaking around with Eleanor during his lunch breaks. Thanks for telling me, Bob. For what it's worth, I think you're better off. You're a good woman. You deserve someone who appreciates that. After he left, I called Veronica Hayes and scheduled an appointment for the following morning. Then I did something I hadn't done in months. I called my buddy Linda and asked if she wanted to grab a beer. About time, she said. Haven't heard from you in forever. He keeps you on that tight leash. Not anymore. I'll explain when I see you. We met at the Old Town Grill, a sports bar downtown. Linda was already nursing a beer when I arrived. So what's the story? She asked as I sat down. I gave her the abbreviated version. Her expression shifted from surprise to disgust. Let me get this straight. He wants to leave you to go play house with his broke ex-wife. That's the size of it. And he had the nerve to frame it like he was doing some noble thing. He actually said she needs him more than I do. Linda shook her head. Man, the audacity of some people. What are you going to do? Already called a lawyer. Meeting with her Monday. Good. Don't let him drag this out. Cut it clean and move on. We spent the next couple of hours talking about everything except my marriage. It felt good to have a normal conversation with another adult. I realized how long it had been since I'd done anything social without him controlling every detail. When I got home that evening, there were 3 missed calls from him and 2 voicemails. I didn't listen to them. Instead, I opened a beer and ordered pizza. When was the last time I'd ordered pizza without having to negotiate toppings or worry about his diet restrictions? My phone rang again, his name on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. The house felt different now, bigger, somehow quieter, but not in a lonely way. More like peaceful. I could hear the neighbor's dog barking, cars passing on the street, the hum of the refrigerator. Normal sounds I hadn't noticed when he was here, always talking or streaming videos on his phone. One morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I slept until late, made pancakes for breakfast, and watched a game without anyone complaining about the volume or asking me to change the channel. Around noon, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Is this about Eleanor? The voice was older, gravelly. Who is this? Tamara Jones. I used to work construction with Eleanor before her business went under. Your husband called me asking about her. I sat up straighter. What did he want to know? She was asking if what Eleanor told her about losing everything was true. Wanted to know if I'd seen her around, if she was really struggling like she claimed. And Tamara laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's the thing. Eleanor didn't lose anything. Her business is doing fine. Matter of fact, she just bought herself a new truck last month. Expensive one, too. The pieces clicked into place. He's been lied to. Sounds like it, Tamara confirmed. Eleanor always was a smooth talker, especially with men who felt sorry for her. After Tamara hung up, I sat there staring at my phone. Eleanor had played him perfectly, fed him some sob story about being broke and desperate, knowing he'd eat it up, and he fell for it completely. The irony was almost funny. He left me to help someone who didn't need help while I was the one actually working overtime to improve our life. I should have felt vindicated. Should have wanted to call him and tell him he'd been played. Instead, I felt something else entirely. Relief. He'd made his choice. The fact that it was based on lies just proved how little he really knew about making good decisions. The day after, I met with Veronica Hayes bright and early. She was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s, The kind of lawyer who cut through emotional drama and focused on facts. Standard separation case, she said after I explained the situation. No kids, minimal shared assets since you kept your finances mostly separate should be straightforward. He's staying with his ex-wife. Does that complicate things? Veronica raised an eyebrow. Actually, it simplifies them. Makes his intentions pretty clear. We'll file for divorce based on abandonment and adultery. I signed the initial paperwork and left her office feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Instead of going straight to work, I stopped at a coffee shop I'd never been to before. The kind of place he would have complained was too pretentious or too expensive. The barista was a college-aged woman named Sarah. First time here. Yeah. What do you recommend? Depends. You looking for something safe, or want to try something new? New sounds good. She made me some elaborate drink. It was actually pretty good. I sat by the window watching people walk by, checking emails on my phone. Normal Monday morning stuff. Except I wasn't rushing to get home to update him on my day, or asking what he wanted for dinner. Work was different too. I actually stayed late because I wanted to finish a project, not because I was avoiding going home. My supervisor, Michael, noticed. You seem more focused lately, he said Wednesday afternoon. Just trying to stay productive. Well, whatever you're doing, keep it up. The Sterling Project loved your presentation yesterday. It was funny how much clearer my thinking became when I wasn't constantly distracted by relationship drama. For months, I'd been trying to balance work stress at the IRS with whatever mood he was in when I got home. Now I could just focus on doing good work. That evening my phone started ringing again, his number. I was making dinner, so I let it go. Then it rang again and again. Finally I answered. What? Don't hang up, please. I need to talk to you. His voice sounded different, strained. I'm listening. Things with Eleanor aren't. They're not what I expected. I kept stirring my pasta sauce, meaning she's not as grateful as you thought she'd be. And some of the things she told me about his situation don't add up. I said nothing. I think I might have made a mistake. Might have. I made a mistake. A big one. But we can fix this, right? We can work through this. I turned off the burner and leaned against the counter. Let me ask you something. When you decided to leave, did you think about what it would do to me? Of course I did. No, I don't think you did. I think you saw what you wanted and took it regardless of the consequences. Now that it's not working out the way you planned, you want to undo it. That's not fair. Fair. I almost laughed. You left me for another woman and you want to talk about fair. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Because I'm having trouble seeing it any other way. He was quiet for a long moment. Can I come home? Can we try to work this out? No. Just like that. Just like that. I hung up and turned my phone to silent. Then I finished making dinner, opened a beer, and watched a movie I'd been wanting to see for months. The kind of action movie he always said was too loud and stupid. A few days later, Linda called. How's the single life treating you? Better than expected, honestly. Want to grab dinner tonight? There's this new place downtown I've been wanting to try. We met at a steakhouse that had opened recently. The kind of place he would have said was too expensive for a casual dinner. You look good, Avery, Linda said after we ordered. Relaxed. I feel relaxed. It's weird. Not weird. You've been walking on eggshells for years now. You can just be yourself again. The waiter brought our steaks. Mine was cooked perfectly, exactly how I ordered it. When was the last time I'd ordered a steak without him commenting about red meat or asking the server 20 questions about how it was prepared? So what's the plan? Linda asked. Divorce proceedings are moving forward. It'll be final in a couple of months if he doesn't contest it. Think he will? I think he'll try, but Veronica says it won't matter much. He abandoned the marriage. He's living with another woman. Pretty cut and dried. After dinner, we walked around downtown for a while. It was a nice evening, warm for the time of year. I realized I couldn't remember the last time I just walked around without a specific destination or timeline. You know what's funny? I said as we headed back to our cars. What's that? I keep waiting to feel sad about this or angry, but mostly I just feel relieved. That tells you everything you need to know right there. When I got home, there were 2 more voicemails from him. I deleted them without listening and went to bed early. The next day was Saturday, and for the first time in months, I had no plans and no obligations. Just a whole day to do whatever I wanted. The thought didn't make me anxious, it made me excited. A month and a half after he left, the calls became desperate. Not just occasional evening calls but multiple times a day. I'd wake up to 3 missed calls, check my phone at lunch to find 5 more, and come home to a voicemail box that was constantly full. I never answered. One evening my neighbor Bobchin knocked on my door again. He had that look people get when they're bursting with gossip but trying to act casual. "I hate to be the bearer of bad news," he said, "but I thought you should know. I saw your husband at the grocery store yesterday. He looked rough, like he hadn't been sleeping, and he was arguing with some woman on the phone in the parking lot loud enough that other people were staring." I didn't respond, but Bob continued anyway. "My cousin works at the bank downtown," she said. "Your husband came in last week trying to cash a check that bounced. Something about a loan that was supposed to be paid back. That got my attention." "A loan?" Apparently, he lent someone a significant amount of money, and when he tried to deposit their repayment check, it bounced. My cousin said he seemed panicked about it. After Bob left, I sat in my kitchen thinking about what he'd told me. Eleanor had convinced him to lend her money. Money that apparently didn't exist, just like her sob story about being broke. My phone rang, his number again. This time I answered. "Stop calling me. Please just listen to me for 5 minutes." His voice was like he'd been crying for hours. "You have 2 minutes. Eleanor's gone. She left town a few days ago. She took the money I lent her and just disappeared." I said nothing. "I'm in trouble. Genuine trouble. I used money from our joint savings to help her and now it's gone. I can't make the payments on my credit cards and I don't have anywhere to stay. You made your choice." "I know I did. And it was the wrong choice. I admit that, but I need help. Call your parents." I did. They won't talk to me. My mom said I made my bed and now I have to lie in it. Smart woman. "What about your brother?" He said the same thing. "Everyone thinks I'm an idiot for leaving you." They're not wrong. He started crying harder. "I know I hurt you. I know I destroyed everything good we had, but I'm desperate here. I don't have anywhere else to turn. You should have thought about that before you left me for another woman. It wasn't supposed to be like this. She said she just needed help getting back on her feet, and then we'd build something together. And you believed her? I know how it sounds. I know I was naive, but I genuinely thought I was doing the right thing. I looked around my kitchen. Clean counters, no dirty dishes in the sink, no clutter anywhere. The house had never been more organized or peaceful. Where are you staying now?" "A motel on the Route 66 strip. The weekly rate place. It's all I can afford." Route 66. I knew that area. It wasn't dangerous exactly, but it wasn't nice either. "I'm sorry to hear that. Can I come home just temporarily until I figure out my next step?" "No, please. I'm not asking to get back together. I'm just asking for a place to stay while I sort out this mess." The answer is still no. "Why? What would it hurt to let me sleep on the couch for a few weeks?" I almost laughed. "Because you're not my responsibility anymore. You left. Remember, you chose Eleanor over me. The fact that it didn't work out doesn't make it my problem. I made one mistake, one awful mistake. Does that really mean you're going to let me end up on the street? You didn't make one mistake. You made a series of choices. You chose to meet her behind my back. You chose to lend her money. You chose to leave me. You chose to trust her over me. Every step of this disaster was a choice you made." He was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. "Avery, I know I don't deserve your help, but I'm asking anyway, and I'm saying no anyway." I hung up and turned off my phone for the rest of the night. The next morning I had breakfast at that coffee shop again. Sarah remembered my order, the usual. "Actually, let me try something different today." She made me a simpler drink. Black coffee with just a hint of vanilla. It was perfect. I sat by the window again watching people start their day. A couple walked by holding hands, laughing about something. A businessman hurried past, checking his phone. A woman about my age jogged by with her dog. Normal people living normal lives. No drama, no manipulation. No one asking them to fix problems they didn't create. My phone buzzed with a text from my attorney. Divorce papers ready for your review. Can you stop by this afternoon? I texted back. I'll be there at 3. When I got to Veronica's office, she had everything laid out on her desk. He hasn't responded to any of our attempts at service, she said. We may need to publish notice in the newspaper if we can't locate his current address. Try the Weekly Inn on the Route 66 strip. She raised an eyebrow but wrote it down. This should be wrapped up within the next month. He's got 30 days to respond once we serve him. But given his situation, I doubt he'll contest it. Walking back to my car, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Complete control over my own life. No one else's problems to solve. No one else's poor decisions to manage. No one else's emotional drama to navigate. Just me making my own choices, living with my own consequences. Felt incredible. A couple of months in, and my life had found a rhythm I didn't know I was missing. I woke up when I wanted, ate what I wanted, watched what I wanted. The house stayed clean because I was the only one living in it. My stress levels were lower than they'd been in years. Work at the IRS was going better too. Without constant relationship drama weighing me down, I was more focused and productive. Michael had started giving me larger projects and there was talk of another promotion. Meanwhile, the calls from him had stopped completely. I figured he'd finally gotten the message. Then Linda called me with news. You remember my boyfriend Tony? He works at that daylight diner on Main Street. Yeah. What about him? He said your ex is working there now, waiting tables. Tony says he looks terrible and is working double shifts just to make rent on some studio apartment. I was silent for a moment. Okay, that's it. Just okay. What do you want me to say? I don't know, man. Don't you feel bad for him at all? Should I? He's working himself to death at a diner. That's what people do when they need money. They work. Linda was quiet for a bit. You've gotten pretty cold about this whole thing. No, I've gotten clear about it. There's a difference. The truth was I didn't feel cold about it. I didn't feel much of anything about it. His problems weren't my problems anymore, and that felt natural rather than cruel. A week later my attorney called. We finally served him the papers. He's got 30 days to respond, but I wouldn't expect much of a fight. His living situation suggests he can't afford legal representation. How long until it's final? Assuming he doesn't contest, probably another 6 weeks. That weekend, I did something I'd been thinking about for months. I went to the Lexus dealership. The same salesman who'd helped me before recognized me immediately. Hey, you're back. Still interested in that model you were looking at? Actually, I want something different. Something just for me. We spent a couple of hours going over options. I test drove 3 different models and finally settled on a deep emerald green Lexus SUV. Performance package, premium interior, every feature I wanted. This is a beautiful choice, the salesman said as we finished the paperwork. Your husband is going to love it. It's just for me, I corrected. I'm divorced. He looked confused for a second, then recovered. Well, you've got excellent taste. This car will serve you well. When I drove it home that evening, it felt like closing a chapter and starting a new one. The car I'd originally planned to surprise him with was gone, replaced by something that was entirely mine. The next afternoon, I was washing the Lexus in my driveway when Bobchin came over. New car, new everything. It's gorgeous. You deserve something nice. As he walked away, a beat-up sedan pulled into my driveway. I didn't recognize the car, but I recognized the passenger, my ex-husband's brother, Mark. He got out and walked over to me. The woman driving stayed in the car. We need to talk, Mark said. No, we don't. He's in bad shape. Like genuinely bad shape. I continued drying the car. That's unfortunate. He's working 2 jobs and can barely afford food. He lost 15 pounds in the last month. And he's family. I can't just watch him destroy himself. I stopped what I was doing and looked at Mark directly. He's your family, not mine. Not anymore. You used to care about him. I used to be married to him. Things change. He made a mistake. He made a choice. Now he's living with the consequences of that choice. That's how life works. Mark's face hardened. You really don't care that he's struggling. I care about a lot of things. The veteran I see downtown every morning. Kids in foster care. People who get dealt a bad hand through no fault of their own. Your brother doesn't fall into any of those categories. So that's it? You're just going to let him hit rock bottom. He hit rock bottom the day he chose another woman over his wife. Everything since then has just been the natural progression of that choice. Mark stared at me for a long moment. You've changed. Yeah, I have. I stopped taking responsibility for other people's poor decisions. He got back in the sedan without another word. As they drove away, I could see my ex-husband in the passenger seat. He looked smaller somehow, but I felt nothing about it. I went back to washing my car. That evening, I called my parents for the first time in months. We talked for an hour about normal things. Work at the IRS, the weather, their plans for the holidays. You sound happy, my mother said before we hung up. I am happy. Good. You deserve to be happy. As I got ready for bed that night, I realized she was right. I was happy not because my ex was struggling, but because his struggles weren't my struggles anymore. I was free to be happy without having to manage anyone else's emotions or fix anyone else's mistakes. And that freedom was worth more than any Lexus. For months after he walked out of my life, he tried to walk back in. On a rainy night, the doorbell rang at 9:30 p.m. Through the peephole, I saw not just him, but an entire delegation. His mother, his brother Mark, some woman I didn't recognize who was probably his friend, and a woman in a suit carrying a briefcase. I opened the door but didn't step aside to let them in. Evening, I said calmly. He looked exactly like Tony had described. 15 pounds thinner, dark circles under his eyes, wearing a cheap raincoat that had seen better days. The man who used to spend an hour getting ready just to go to the grocery store looked like he'd been sleeping in his car. Can we come in? He asked, his voice shaky. We need to talk. We can talk right here. The woman in the suit stepped forward. I'm attorney Diane Foster. I represent Mr. Ms. I corrected. We're divorced as of last week, actually. Her confidence faltered for a moment. Miss Avery, we're here to discuss a possible reconciliation. I almost laughed. A reconciliation? You brought a lawyer to discuss getting back together? His mother spoke up. He's learned his lesson. He knows he made a terrible mistake and he's paid for it. Has he now? He's working 2 jobs just to survive, Mark added. He's barely eating, barely sleeping. He gets it now. He understands what he threw away. I looked at each of them, then back at my ex-husband. So let me understand this. You brought your mother, your brother, your friend, and a lawyer to my house at 9:30 at night in the rain to tell me you've learned your lesson. I know how it looks, he said, stepping closer. But I had to try. I had to make you understand how sorry I am, how much I regret what I did. And you thought an intervention was the way to do that? The attorney cleared her throat. There are legal avenues we could explore if you're amenable to stop. I held up my hand. Let me save everyone some time here. I stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind me. All 5 of them were now standing in the rain, looking up at me expectantly. Months ago, you told me that Eleanor needed you more than I did. You left our marriage to go help another woman. You took money from our joint account to loan to her. You lied to me for months before you left, sneaking around behind my back. I know, but I'm not finished. My voice was calm but firm. You chose her over me, not once but repeatedly. You chose to believe her lies over trusting your wife. You chose to prioritize her needs over our marriage. You chose to leave. The rain was getting heavier but nobody moved. Now Eleanor is gone. Your money is gone. Your family won't help you. And you're working at a diner trying to pay rent on a studio apartment. And suddenly you want to come back. It's not like that, he said desperately. Then what is it like? I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But people make mistakes. People learn from them. We can rebuild from this. I shook my head. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. You saw what you wanted and you took it. The only thing you're sorry about is that it didn't work out the way you planned. His friend stepped forward. He's been punished enough. He's learned his lesson. Punished? You think working for a living is punishment? You think facing the consequences of your own decisions is punishment? He loved you. His mother said he still loves you. No, he doesn't. He loves the idea of not having to work 2 jobs. He loves the idea of having financial security again. He loves the idea of not being responsible for his own poor choices. The attorney tried again. If there were financial arrangements that could be made, You want to pay me to take him back? I actually laughed at that. What's the going rate for accepting a man who abandoned his marriage for another woman? My ex-husband started crying. Please, Avery. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking for another chance. You want another chance? I asked. Let me tell you about chances. I had a chance to surprise you with Alexis the night you left me. Instead, I kept the keys in my pocket and watched you walk out. I had a chance to chase after you, to beg you to stay, to fight for our marriage. I didn't. I pulled out my own keys, the ones to the deep green Lexus sitting in my garage. I had a chance to answer your calls, to let you back into my life, to be your safety net when Eleanor disappeared. I didn't take that chance either. And you know what? Every chance I didn't take turned out to be the right choice. You bought a Lexus anyway, he whispered. I did a better one for myself. The rain was soaking through everyone's clothes now, but I wasn't done. Here's what's going to happen. You're all going to get back in your cars and drive away. You're going to accept that this marriage is over, that I've moved on, and that showing up at my door with a legal team isn't going to change anything. But where am I supposed to go? He asked. What am I supposed to do? The same thing every other adult does when they make bad choices. You figure it out yourself. I turned to go back inside and stopped. Oh, and one more thing. Don't come here again. Don't call. Don't text. Don't send people to speak for you. We're done. We've been done since the night you chose Eleanor over me. Tonight doesn't change that. I went back inside and locked the door. Through the window, I watched them stand in my driveway for another few minutes, probably trying to figure out their next move. Eventually, they got back in their cars and left. I poured myself a glass of whiskey and sat back down with my book. The rain continued to beat against the windows, but inside my house, everything was perfectly quiet. My phone stayed silent for the rest of the night.